Hello there and welcome back. For today's discussion we have a new tax for EVs in United States, first loss in 70 years for Honda, new leakage of BMW X5 and 7 Series, and some other bunch of news. So let's start from the first and most interesting one, and it's a new taxation on EVs in United States. A tax on EVs in the United States. Congress wants EV owners to pay new fees while gasoline taxes stay at the same level as they are right now. So, the ongoing American circus is still continue over the question is who exactly should pay for the roads, and most important, how much. Because roads doesn't just magically exist. They need to be maintained, repaired, cleaned, and all of it costs a lot of money, like a huge ton of money. And of course, in the United States, like in other countries, there is effectively road use tax. If you use roads, then you should pay for repairs. And with gasoline and diesel cars, the system works pretty easy. You just build that tax in a price of a fuel and everything works just fine. Automatically, the person who drives less pays less, and the person who drives more automatically pays more. That's quite logical. And that logic is also working perfectly with the scaling of your vehicle. For example, if you drive a semi-truck that is much more heavier and make much more damage for the road, then that vehicle consumes much more petrol than just small Toyota Corolla. The more you pay for fuel, the more money comes for repair of the road. And if you, for example, a driver of a Toyota Corolla, then your consumption of a fuel is much less, and that's where you spend less money on repair of the road. Unfortunately, with EVs, that logic is not working, because you can't really isolate how much your Tesla consumes energy when you are charging that at home. And on top of that, EVs put much more stress on the road, since EVs are much more heavier than just average car because of batteries inside of it. And this whole fight over that EVs owners should pay much more money for a road in taxes has already been going in US for some of time. This current tax legalization expires 30th of September, so they need to adopt a new version of the law. And right now the discussions are getting heated. Some politicals are proposing a flat annual for EVs, but in the same time, if it would be accepted, then the obvious question, if a person who drives a lot in his EV will pay same amount of money that a person who drives less, then first person have more advantage than the second one, and second one just overpaying. There were other proposals like let's just charge $1,000 every EV owner, but I don't think it will be accepted and submitted. So until this day there is no actual system or smart structure anyone come up with. All I can say is that road needs money, road need to be repaired. At the same time, nobody actually want to discuss rising price for fuel, because fuel prices nowadays is a very sensitive political issue, and if you will raise tax on a fuel, then I guess it's not the best idea you can do as political person right now, especially in US. I should add actually that prices go up not because of some political games, but because of a war in the Middle East, and because of that prices goes just insane. And gasoline prices hit political approval ratings directly. Meanwhile, road conditions are actually becoming also a social issue, because people already see some potholes, broken surfaces, like just the whole thing, the whole road. Obviously they will figure out something out somehow, and obviously, as has been already been said maybe 1,000 times, all advantages for EVs will disappear one day, and I'm pretty sure that EV owners one day will pay same amount of taxes as gasoline owners, or even more, because it would be quite logical, because their car is heavier than average gasoline car, and that means that they do much more damage for the road, and because of that they need to pay more money, and to pay more money their taxes should be higher. But the problem is nobody knows how to do that. So it will be really very interesting with which compromises they will end up and what systems they will create. And while they thinking about that, we will went for BMW X5 and 7 Series leakage, because that news is kinda interesting for me. Pum pum. Photos of a new BMW X5 and pre-facelift 7 Series from a close presentation were leaked online. And that's why I do love our era, even though presentation could be closed, otherwise you will find out something in internet. So BMW held some kind of close presentation for dealers and their partners. Of course, every car company do that kind of close-up presentation, but the main thing is that usually there is no leaks online. They always come to the dealers and say, look what we came up with. Look what we are going to sell. What do you think about that product? Does it look good? Because the sales depends not only of the product, but it also depends on how dealer network can sell that car. And if hypothetically you show up in front of your dealers, reveal something new, and their reaction will be Jesus Christ, then it's not exactly a strong foundation for a smooth operation. But if you show up and say, look, here's a new X5, and they all go, now that is an X5. That's two very different situations. So apparently event like that happened, and BMW showed a new X5 and the facelifted 7 Series. And the 7 Series doesn't look better right now, because in my personal opinion, even the gangrene of a right ass cheek looks better than the current 7 Series. Those swallow eyes, those wired lower lights, it's just a disaster. It looks awful, and it's purely my subjective view. And the facelift supposedly looks like this, which is much better than before. It's like comparing a gangrene to a massive bruise. Both are ugly, but one at least slightly horrifying than the other one. But the most important part is a leakage of a new X5, and that what it is look like. What is that? Why? Just why? For what reasons? Like, weren't they telling that design is specifically for EV versions only? But now it seems like, oh no, that design is actually not for EV, but for gasoline cars also. And I'm very upset with that news. I actually lived to see this moment. But on the other hand, BMW is doing much more better than their German neighbors. They are really in a better shape than Mercedes and VW. But our people are actively trying not to make money on a new X5, or you have some other reasons for that. I genuinely have no words. And then, in same direction, BMW wants to raise the EV sales to the levels of internal combustion engines. In slightly official language, BMW Group expect EV to grow up to 50% of its all sales. And talking about how stupid it is, Right now, their sales of EV is on 18% sales, and that results for 2025. So, if they keep showing people that sniff design language, is it really gonna move and help to sell more EVs? Because it seems to me in that modern world, right now, with the war in the Gulf, with the fuel prices, with the fuel crisis, with the energy prices, which are like insane, and tariffs flying between every country all over the world, with all that madness, and on top of that, with design like this, there is only one way how they can reach their goal, is to set up a new company and sell two cars. One car is pure EV and another one is a gasoline one. And when they will sold two cars, they will basically achieve a 50% of sales, and I think that is success. But to be fair, going back that BMW is doing great in EV sales than their neighbors, they are one of the few who still believe that the $10 billion that they spent on EVs and not yet money thrown away. They are still holding that line. But somehow, standing right here in beginning of April 2026, I feel pretty comfortable to predicting this. They will look at their 2026 sales report and then revise their entire strategy. Because there is no a single factor that can push EV sales materially upward. You can maybe fantasize about gasoline cars becoming absurdly expensive, but then the gas becomes expensive too. And what about electricity? Right, that comes from the same broken system. So that becomes absurdly expensive as well as the gasoline cars. I'm generally sitting there and thinking, what factor could make BMW EV sales multiply go up? And I couldn't come up with anything. But maybe the guys have some tricks, maybe they have some hidden knowledge, maybe we will see that, but I personally bet that we won't. Pum pum. Nissan is going to sell American Murano in Japan. They producing Muranos in the United States and then they need to show it somewhere, simply because new tariffs walls dictate that the production should stay in the United States, and those plants unfortunately can't just shut down. But the idea drag Murano back to Japan from America, it just sounds confusing for me. Because that car basically died back there in 2015, and American market and Japanese market is like two different things. The idea that you can just take a car for American market and transfer it to Japan market, as I do remember, that has basically never worked out. But we will see, maybe Nissan will somehow pull it off. Pum pum. Honda heads for its first loss in 70 years and cancel EV's plans. And at this point, let's say that Honda finally is on a list of the companies that, let's say, have finally seen the light. We begin with a Financial Times article saying that the Honda warns of its first annual loss since its listing in 19. Then we have Car Scoops that saying Honda is cancelling the Zero Salon, the Zero SUV and the electric Acura RS6. And on top of that there is one article saying that the one surviving Honda Zero Series has now entering the testing. First of all, when it comes to Financial Times piece, I already have like a bunch of thoughts about that. First, how automakers moving their EV investment from box called brilliant ideas to a box called losers, meaning we are not going to make money from all of that shit. And the place where we put all that cash is not going to get us return. And now Honda joins Stellantis, VW, Ford and the rest of the industry preparing to right of 15.7 billion euros that were invested in EVs. And that despite the fact that Honda never came out with the idea that look at us, we're rebooting the whole lineup, we're killing all gasoline cars, and now there is no such thing as gasoline cars because from now and go moment there will be only EVs, like Volkswagen did. Honda was constantly trying to collaborate with someone and share the cost of that EV platform. They didn't go all in and launching 15 models. Their development efforts were actually fairly restrained, and even though they're still preparing right now to bump 15 billions into the box called losers, and all the different kind of disaster we had over the last 70 years, the Middle East oil crisis, the Asian financial crisis, the dot-com crash, 2008, every kind of war you can think over that period, and so on. Nothing of that has really stopped Honda from making money, but politicians with their restrictions, some stupid activists, managed to create conditions for Honda where they just going to report for a loss. For us, of course, it's actually an excellent news. I wouldn't lie about that. Not because we don't like Honda, we do like Honda, but because the faster automaker will write off their brilliant ideas, the faster they will go for drawing boards and start design normal cars again, and the faster they will turn back to the customer. Because then the situation becomes simpler. Either you make what people are actually want and willing to pay, or you keep obeying every demand of the agenda and rest of it, and you go under. It's very simple. And that's all for that episode. Anyway, I'm Horstorm, drive safe, and I will see you in next episode.